I don't know when exactly the shift happened. When the warmth in her touch became just temperature. When her smile stopped reaching her eyes. When my home, my safe place, started feeling like a room full of quiet landmines. But I do remember. The moment I realized I wasn't crazy, I remember the exact angle of the sun coming through our bedroom window. I remember the curve of her neck. And I remember the necklace. God, that necklace. She always used to wear the one I gave her on our 5th anniversary. A delicate silver chain with a small sapphire pendant. Something simple, something meaningful. She said she loved it because it reminded her of the ocean where we spent our honeymoon. She used to touch it when she spoke, sometimes without noticing, like it anchored her, and then one day it was gone, replaced by something bolder, heavier. Gold with a small flat pendant, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it, and I was looking. Not because I wanted to, but because I had started seeing things, or maybe feeling them. It's those invisible threads that tie two people together. Ours were fraying. I asked her about it. Casually. New necklace. She smiled. Oh, this. It was just lying around in my jewelry box. Figured I'd switch it up. That was it. No softness in her voice. No warmth. Just another answer tossed. Over her shoulder, as she poured coffee, my gut twisted. It wasn't the necklace itself. It was the way she said it, like it meant nothing, like it was disposable. But here's the thing. I know my wife, or at least I thought I did. She doesn't just switch it up. Every little detail she wears means something. Every piece tells. A story, and that one didn't belong to our story. I didn't say anything else that morning. Smiled. I kissed her on the cheek. I told her I loved her. She said it back. But it sounded like someone reading a script they didn't believe in anymore that day. I drove around the block twice before actually heading to work. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe, like I was the only one holding something sacred while she'd already let it slip through her fingers. Maybe I was overthinking. That's what she always said when I brought things up. You overanalyze everything. You spiral. You see problems where there aren't any. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was paranoid, but something didn't sit right. And when something doesn't sit right, it festers. It doesn't go away. It eats at you slowly, until even silence sounds accusatory. At night, when she'd fall asleep, facing the other way, I'd stare at the back of her head and wonder who she dreamed about. I'd reach out to hold her, only to feel her shoulder tense. She said she was tired. Always tired. Long work hours, deadlines, stress. But I remember a time when we were tired too. Exhausted, broke, scraping by. Hands off each other. And we had everything we used to dream about. Somehow we'd lost each other in the process. I wanted to believe it was just a phase. That we were growing apart temporarily, not permanently. That life had distracted us, not divided us. I clung to that hope like a lifeline. I planned weekend trips, cooked her favorite meals. I listened more, talked less. She noticed. She even thanked me once, said she appreciated the effort, but her eyes didn't match her words. They never do when someone's heart is already somewhere else. And still, I blamed myself. I told myself I was just insecure. I had gained some weight. Lost. Some drive I wasn't the man she married, maybe. But I was trying. God, I was trying so hard to bring her back. But sometimes, people are already gone. They just haven't packed their bags yet. And all it took to finally see it, really see it, was a necklace. That gold chain with a flat pendant. The thing is, I'd seen that necklace before, and not on her. The first time I saw that necklace, it was in a photo. A faded, oversaturated photo from years ago, back when she still had a Facebook account. We were lying in bed one night, years before the silence, just scrolling through each other's timelines. For fun, laughing at awkward teenage haircuts and cringy captions. That's when I saw it. A picture of her and her ex, Liam. They were in a bar, arms around each other, grinning in that careless way young couples do. Her hair was longer, sun-kissed. His hand rested too comfortably on her hip. And around her neck was that necklace. The same one she said was just lying around. Back then, it didn't bother me. That photo was a relic of a past life, Just like my own mistakes, my own exes. She told me it had ended badly, that Liam was intense, controlling, manipulative, the kind of man who made you doubt your worth and called it love. I remember holding her hand after she told me that, promising her she'd never have to feel that way again. We moved in together. 6 months later, that necklace had vanished into memory, a detail in a long-buried chapter of her life. So I thought, you see, I'm not the jealous type. At least I wasn't. I never had the energy for it. I trusted her. I wanted to trust her. But trust is a strange thing. It's quiet, invisible, foundational until it's not. Until a tiny crack appears and suddenly the whole structure starts to groan. When I met her, I was coming out of a long stretch of loneliness. It's not the kind where you're single and just bored. Not that surface-level kind. I mean the kind where you could be surrounded by people and still feel like you're drowning, quietly in a crowded room. I had just lost my dad to a sudden heart attack. Her mother was a mess, and I had moved back to New Jersey to help hold her life together, duct taping bills and running errands in between freelance gigs and night shifts at a gas station. And then came Claire. She was this burst of color in the middle of my gray. Confident, witty, the kind of woman who made you feel like you were the interesting one. Just because she chose to look at you that way. She didn't save me, not exactly, but she reminded me I was still alive. She gave me permission to want something again. To build, and I did. I built my life around her, built my routines to orbit hers. I built my future in a shape that fit her. In the center, she, on the other hand, she rebuilt herself, got promoted, changed careers, started dressing differently, stopped watching our favorite shows, said she was evolving, supported it, because that's what love is, right? But sometimes when people grow, they don't grow with you. They grow away from you. I think that's what she did. I just didn't want to see it. That's why the necklace shook me. Not just because it was a symbol from a man she once loved, but because it was that man. The one who twisted her. The one she said broke her. What kind of woman puts on the jewelry of a man she said destroyed her, unless it wasn't really him who did the breaking? Unless I never truly knew her at all. That night, there she fell asleep beside me, I lay. There staring at the ceiling, replaying years of conversations, expressions, late arrivals, sudden mood swings. It was like I had unknowingly opened a door in my own memory. Everything I'd ignored came rushing in. I remembered a business trip she took to Atlanta. She said the hotel Wi-Fi was down, so she couldn't video chat. But she'd sent me a picture from her room, wine glass in hand, smile forced. Makeup done at 11:30 p.m. I remembered the night she came home smelling like a different cologne. Said it was from hugging a coworker at a retirement party. I remembered the time she left. Her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter, and the way she snatched it back when I walked past, individually. These moments were nothing, dust particles, but together they made a shape I couldn't unsee, and it all led back to that necklace, that one careless slip, that one crack in the performance. Once you stop convincing yourself everything is fine, it's like a veil gets lifted. Begin to notice things, small things, like how someone hugs you back, or doesn't. The rhythm of their breathing when you speak. The way their eyes flicker. When you ask something simple, like how was your day? With Claire, the signs were everywhere. They had always been there. I just didn't want to connect them. Maybe because I was scared of the truth. Or maybe because a man can only admit to himself that he's losing everything once he's got nothing left to distract him. She stopped wearing perfume, said it gave her headaches. But once, when she came home late from drinks with the girls, I leaned in for a kiss and caught the unmistakable scent of Sauvage clinging to her hair. Not hers, definitely not mine. She'd leave the room to answer calls, laugh softly behind closed doors. When I'd ask who it was, she'd wave it off. Just my cousin or Melissa from work. But once, just once, I caught the way her face lit up before she picked up, that kind of smile. That kind doesn't belong to casual conversations. That kind is reserved for someone who knows your skin. I wanted to confront her, but something in me held back. Maybe pride, maybe fear. Maybe a part of me still needed to believe that she loved me. even if it was no longer true. I started replaying old memories like a man trying to pinpoint where the fracture began. I remembered this time, maybe a year ago. We were at her friend's baby shower. I'd stepped away for a moment to take a call from my sister, and when I came back, Claire was talking to some guy. He had that effortless confidence, the kind that makes other people shrink. They laughed. About something I didn't hear? I approached, smiled, held her waist. She stiffened. It barely touched me back. Introduced me as her husband with a chuckle, like it was some inside joke. Later in the car, I asked who he was. She rolled her eyes. Relax. Just a friend from college. You're so uptight sometimes. Another time, she changed her password. I noticed because I went to play Spotify from her phone while she was in the shower. It asked for Face ID. She never used to lock it. Oh, company policy, she said, toweling her hair. Work requires it now, but her phone was personal. She didn't have work emails on it. Still, I let it go. Strange how easy it is to surrender your intuition when you love someone. How quickly you abandon your instincts in exchange for the hope that you're wrong. But my body knew. I started waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, sheets damp with sweat. Sit on the edge of the bed, watching her sleep with her back turned to me, and feel this unbearable ache in my chest. The kind that doesn't scream, it suffocates. And then came the worst one, the flashback that hit me like a freight train. A memory so ordinary it might have slipped away forever if not for the context I now had. We were at a flea market last fall. Wandering between stalls, she stopped at one with vintage jewelry, picked up a gold necklace, ran her fingers across the pendant, smiled, a long, slow smile. You like that one? I asked. She didn't look at me, just nodded, still touching it. Then she put it down. I used to have one just like it, she said softly. Years ago, I didn't think much of it, just a throwaway comment. Now I wonder if that was the exact same necklace. Maybe it was hers. Maybe she pawned it years ago after the breakup and bought it back. Or maybe someone gave it back to her. Someone like Liam. The thought made me sick. She was slipping, not because she was careless, but because she didn't believe I was looking. That was my role in her story. The doting, naive husband. The loyal dog. The man who would believe her even when the truth was screaming in his face. And I almost did, but now I was wide awake. The only thing left was to catch her in the act. There's something about heartbreak that doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it arrives with the softest realization, like watching a mirror slowly fog, and then catching the faint outline of something behind you never noticed before. That's what it felt like the day I saw the necklace again, only this time she wasn't wearing it by accident. We were getting ready for dinner with friends. It's one of those forced social evenings where couples sit across from each other and pretend things are fine. She came out of the bathroom wearing a black dress, simple, elegant, and entirely unfamiliar. She looked beautiful, undeniably, but it wasn't the kind of beauty meant for me. It was curated, strategic. Her hair was pulled back, exposing her collarbone. Her lips were darker than usual, and around her neck. There it was, that necklace, the gold one with the flat pendant. And here's the part that shattered something deep inside me. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled, not at me, not even to me, just at her reflection, as if she was dressing for someone else. I stood behind her, watching through the mirror. My voice came out softer than I intended. You never told me where you got that necklace? She hesitated, just for a second. Not long enough for most people to notice, but I saw it. The flicker of panic, the calculation behind her eyes. I told you. It was just an old one I found in a box. Thought it matched the dress. Her smile returned, thinner this time. You don't like it? I lied. I said it looked nice. I kissed her cheek. I held the lie like a man cradling a knife to his chest, sharp and cold, waiting for the right moment to let it cut. On the surface, I played my part. Laughed at dinner, topped off her wine, complimented her friends, but my mind wasn't there. It was replaying every second of the past few months like a looped recording. That night, didn't sleep beside her. I waited until she drifted off, and then slipped out of bed. I moved quietly, at a stranger in my own home. Her purse was hanging. On the doorknob of our closet, I hesitated. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I had never done anything like this before, never gone through her things. But this wasn't paranoia anymore. This was self-preservation. Inside, I found her wallet, a few receipts, lip balm, business cards, and then folded neatly in the smallest zip pocket, I found a handwritten note. I didn't recognize the handwriting. Not right away. But I knew it wasn't mine. The paper smelled faintly like cologne. The same scent that clung to her hair that night she came home late. The same scent I'd smelled before, but not on me. The note was short, still wearing it. For me, you don't know how much that means. I miss you. I always do. Lee stared at the paper for a long time. My hands weren't shaking. My breath wasn't heavy. I felt still, hollow maybe, but clear. I put it back. Every fold, every piece. Exactly as it was. I didn't confront her that night. Or the next day. Or the next week. I smiled. I kissed her. I told her I'd be working late more often. I brought home takeout, gave her more space. Because now I was playing a different game. She thought I was still in the dark, and I needed her to keep thinking that. Because people make mistakes when they think no one's watching. The thing about betrayal is, once you know it's there, you start noticing the fingerprints it leaves behind. They're everywhere, in browser histories, in Bluetooth connections, in locations saved under the wrong names. It's betrayal, as it turns out, is clumsy when it feels invincible. And Claire felt invincible. That was her mistake. I started slow. Didn't want to set off alarms. So I learned to look without being seen. Learned to listen for what wasn't being said. Learned to move through my own house like a guest. The first real lead came. 2 days after I found the note, she'd gone to shower. Her phone buzzed. Once, then twice. Same name each time, Rachel Work. Only Claire doesn't have a Rachel at work, not one I'd ever heard of. She talks about her coworkers all the time, gossips even. She's always been a sharer, till recently. I took a picture of the screen, just a timestamp, just a name, just enough. Later, when she went out, for groceries, I opened our shared laptop. She thought I didn't know the password. But I did. I'd known it for years. I found the backup sync folder for her iCloud. Most of it was clean. Too clean. Except one auto-saved image buried in the preview cache. A selfie. Her, in the passenger seat of a car I didn't recognize, wearing that same necklace, smiling wide. Her head leaning on a shoulder just out of frame, but the shirt. The shirt I recognized, it belonged to Liam. I remembered it because it was loud, some kind of burgundy and gold flannel mess, the kind of thing only someone with overconfidence would wear. He had it on in the Facebook picture from years ago, the same one where I first saw the necklace, and now. He was wearing it again with my wife leaning into him. The date stamp was from 3 weeks ago. A Tuesday. She said she had stayed late for a project deadline. I closed the laptop. Sat there for a moment. Let it wash over me. Not rage. Not even heartbreak. Just clarity. It was never about me being paranoid. I wasn't losing my mind, I was. Losing her piece by piece, night by night. She let me think I was crazy for noticing, and then, like fate had a twisted sense of humor, something else happened. I received a call the next morning from a florist. They confirmed an order under my name. A large bouquet of white tulips, already delivered, but I hadn't sent anything. When I checked the receipt, it had gone to an address I didn't recognize. I looked it up. It was a rental apartment across town. I called in sick that day, drove there, parked a block away, sat in my car for 2 hours waiting, and then I saw her, Claire, my wife, coming out of that door, holding keys, smiling, hair wet from a shower, dressed like comfort, not business, and behind her, him, Liam, older now, still smug, still him. He leaned in to kiss her, and she let him. Not like someone stealing a kiss, not like someone hiding, like someone home. That was when the final truth settled in. This wasn't a mistake, wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a second life, and I wasn't part of it. But I wasn't going to yell, cry, or plead. Because some things deserve more than noise, they deserve consequences. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I went home before she did. Made dinner, set the table, lit a candle even. When she walked through the door, I greeted her with a kiss and asked how her day was. She smiled, said it was exhausting. Sat down, ate slowly, made small talk about a new intern who wasn't catching on. She even laughed at one of my jokes, leaned forward, touched my hand like nothing had changed. It was haunting to see someone you love lie so well. But I didn't flinch, smiled. I poured her more wine. I waited. Over the next few days, I gave her everything she'd stopped giving me. Attention, kindness, warmth. I knew she was waiting for a shift in the winds, expecting me to get suspicious again, to spiral, to start asking questions. But I didn't. I let her relax into the lie, because only when people feel safe do they expose the cracks that weekend. I suggested we host her sister and brother-in-law for dinner. She hesitated but agreed. Probably afraid saying no would raise questions, so we cleaned. We cooked. We played the happy couple. She even wore the necklace. That was the moment I chose, not during dinner, not when everyone was watching, but after. When the dishes were done, when the wine was low, when her sister had just gone to the bathroom and the men were on the porch, talking about baseball, Claire was standing in the kitchen alone, sipping her wine, absent-mindedly fingering the pendant like it was a nervous tick. I walked up behind her. Calm, still, you know. I said softly, "It really is a beautiful necklace." She turned slowly, smiled. "Thanks. It looked better in that photo with Liam, though." The smile froze. I watched her eyes widen just slightly before narrowing again. A silent panic behind the pupils. "What are you talking about?" she asked, voice light, dismissive. But her shoulders had stiffened. Her grip on the glass had changed. "I mean the one from years ago," I said, nodding to the pendant. "The one he gave you. The one you've started wearing again. The one you told me was just lying around." A pause, then a laugh. "Forrest, you're doing it again," she said, turning her back, setting the glass down, making things up, reading into nothing. "What, God, can't we just have one normal night?" I stepped closer. "There's a florist on 8th Street who says I sent tulips to a rental apartment last week. Did you get them, or did he?" She said nothing. She didn't move. I kept going. I saw the picture, Claire, the selfie. "You and him. 3 weeks ago, Tuesday, the same day you said you were staying late." Silence. The air between us thickened. Heavier than truth. Heavier than rage. She turned around finally. Eyes glassy. Chin trembling just slightly. "You went through my things. You wore his around your neck while sleeping next to me." And then something in her cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically. Her knees buckled, just slightly as she leaned against the counter. She buried her face in her hands. For a second, I thought she was about to scream, but she didn't sink. She broke quietly. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered. That's what she said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I love you." Not, "It was a mistake." Just that. She didn't mean for it to go this far. That was the real her, not the woman I married, not the woman I fell in love with. Just someone else. Someone who made a decision and kept making it. I walked out of the kitchen, left her there, crying into her hands. The woman who swore I was paranoid, who made me question my instincts, my heart, my worth. She thought she'd broken me, but all she'd done was set me free. She moved out 2 weeks later, not with a fight, not with some dramatic blow-up. No shattered glass or screaming matches. It's just a slow, painful quiet. We both knew it was over. She offered explanations. Nothing that mattered. Talked about confusion, about needing to find herself, about how we'd grown apart. I listened. Let her speak. Not because I needed answers, because I already had them. What I needed was closure. And sometimes closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you create for. yourself. I kept the house. For a while it felt haunted. Not by her, but by the version of me that used to live there. The man who apologized for everything. The man who smiled through the pain because he believed love was enough to fix anything. The man who mistook silence for peace. I stopped wearing my ring, slid it into the back of my drawer the same day the divorce papers arrived. No ceremony, no sentiment, just an ending. I cut my hair short. Threw away the sweaters she used to love. Started waking up early again, just to hear the sound of nothing without tension clinging to the walls. I began journaling, working out again. Calling my mother more, I stopped waiting for answers from people who weren't brave enough to tell the truth the first time, and eventually, the pain stopped feeling sharp. It dulled, then dimmed, then disappeared. But there was one moment that stuck. With me, months later, I ran into her sister at the grocery store. We exchanged polite hellos. She asked how I'd been. I told her the truth. I was okay, healing, learning to live in the absence of noise. She hesitated before speaking again. You know, she said, Claire still talks about you. I didn't ask what she said. I didn't need to. Whatever version of me she remembers, this isn't my responsibility anymore. That night, I took the necklace, the one I'd found in her drawer the day after she left, and walked to the edge of the lake near our old cabin. It was autumn, cold enough to see my breath. The leaves were falling like silent confessions all around me. I held the necklace in my hand, turned it over one last time, thought about the weight it carried. The lies, the gaslighting, the slow erosion of trust. Then I let it fall. Watched it vanish into the black water. No ceremony. No anger, just release. They say pain changes people, but sometimes it doesn't change who you are. It just reminds you of who you were before. And now I remember. I remember that I was always enough, even when she tried to convince me I wasn't. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for your time. Asterisk. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Asterisk, click the video on the screen and I'll see you there.